Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechta Sanhedrin daf Tzadi Tes. We are going to begin on Tzadi Tes Amud Aleph, about 6 lines from the top. Tanya, Rabbi Lezer Omer, Yemoisa Mashiach Arboim Shana. The amount of time of Mashiach that will be here, that time period of Yemoisa Mashiach will be 40 years. Remember, Arboim Shana for 40 years, Okut Bador. Arboim Shana Kvut Bador. So this is obviously taken from Kabbalah Shabbos, but it's referring to the Dor Hamidbar, but also could be alluding to Yemos Mashiach. Rabbi Elazar Yomer Shivim Shana 70 years Shnemer B'Hai B'Yamahu was on that day. V'nishkachas Sur Shivim Shana, and it became forgotten this rock, which is referring to the chashivus of a master or a king for 70 years. It's Kimei Melech Echad. It's just like one special king. So he's a Melech Miyuchid. So who is this Melech Miyuchid? Rabbi Erm is a Mashiach. So therefore, the Miyuchid is someone who's choshev, that is referring to Mashiach. Rabbi Yomer Shloisha Daitis. The most Mashiach lasts for 3 generations. Shnemer Yerucha im Shamesh. Those of you who come with the sun. If the Yerach Dar Doidim, which this pasuk is mentioned many times in brachos about davening b'sikin, etc. Or davening maybe in Dumichama, as the Gemara over there and says in Tfilas HaShachar. Rabbi Hillel Omer Ein Lehem Mashiach Yisrael Shekvar Achluhu B'Yemei Chizkiah. So this is a very difficult line to understand, that there will not be Mashiach will come, because Chizkiah was supposed to be the Mashiach. So then what happens is Rashi El HaKadosh Baruch Yimlach Ba'atzmo Yigam Levadoi. We're not going to have Mashiach, right? We're not going to have a person Hashem's going to bring. Rav Yosef Shali Marul Rav Hillel. So the fact that Rav Hillel said that he should be forgiven, says Rashi Yimchol HaKadosh Baruch Hashem Devar Masher Loikein. It's just totally not true. Chizkiah Amos Havi, because Chizkiah was only B'bayis Rishon. That was in the time of the first base of Mikdash. The old Zachariah comes Navi by Sheni. But this pasuk, what pasuk we're going to see in a second, is of Sefer Zachariah. Zachariah lived in the Bayis Sheni. V'yomer Gili Ma'oid Basion, rejoice, you daughters of Sion. Hareini Bas Yerushalayim Hini Malchacha Yavalach, that this Malach will come before you. Sadik V'nivshi. Who? There is a tzaddik and our Savior. Ani v'roichel chamor, poor person riding on a donkey. V'al ir ben asaynais. So we see clearly he's talking about Mashiach, and he's talking about Mashiach even though he lived much later. He lived in the time of the second base of Mikdash. So to say, to be able to say that he himself did not. The fact that he made the statement, it's obviously quite clear that the fact that the statement is mentioned after Chizkiyahu, so you can't say, oh, because of Chizkiyahu, that was our one chance of being Mashiach, because he's talking about Mashiach now, later on. So therefore, obviously, Mashiach still will happen. So therefore, that's the reason why it is a mistake. Okay, so let's quickly look at question 3. Just dropped something. That was why I did that. Sorry. Anyway, Mahashim Rabbi Yosef Lister Divri Rav Hillel Shirei Mashiach Yisrael Kfar Achluhu B'Yemei Chizkiah. So he said, because Chizkiah was in the Bayis Rishon, and Zechariah, with his words and his prophecy, was in the Bayis Sheni. And I believe this was the same question as question TB18. I wrote Chizkiyahu Haya B'Bayis Rishon B'Hanavua Shel Zechariah Haya Achri Zeh B'Zman B'Bayis Sheni. Beautifully written. That's TB18. Okay, weiter. Okay, V'Yomer. So we saw this pasuk again. He's an Ani V'Roicha V'Chamor. Tanya Yidach Rabbi Lezer Omer Yemosa Mashiach Arbaim Shana. It'll be 40 years. Ksiv Hacha. V'yancha v'yarivecha, you'll be afflicted and be hungry, v'achicha, and you'll eat. Ksiv hasam samchenu chimois enosnu, that you should rejoice in the days of your affliction. Shenais re'inu ra, these years in which you will see evil. Anyway, so we derive from this pasuk that it's actually for 40 years. Rav Daisa Aimer Dal Mea Shana, it's for 400 years actually. Ksiv Hacha V'Yivdem V'Inois Arba Mea Shana, which is kind of referring to the bris beit Masarim, that we're going to go to Mitzrayim and we're going to be there for 400 years as slaves. Ksiv Hasam Samchenu Chimois in Isanu. We rejoice just like in those days of our afflictions. Therefore, our rejoicing will be in Mos Mashiach. Rabbi Yomer Gimel Mois V'Shishim V'Chamish Shana Kimini Mos Achama. Just like the solar year of 365 days, so will be the days of Mashiach. Shnever Ki Yom Nakam, believe in the day of revenge in my heart. The Shnas Goali Ba, and the year of redemption has come. My Yoim Nikoim believe. What is that referring to? I'm Rabbi Yochanan Lilibi Galisi. It's in my heart. It's been revealed. Le'evodai lo Galisi, but my limbs, or the inside has not been revealed. Says Rashi. V'yoim nakim shel meraglim arboim yoim. Ma yoim nakim shel meraglim shana achas b'chol yoim k'siv yom l'shana yom l'shana. So even though it says the word day, so we said, but every day that the meraglim were in Eretz Canaan, so that was a punishment of a year. So therefore, the 40 days of looking into Canaan and also looking quite negatively about it, speaking Lashon Hara about it, corresponds to our 40 years. So that's what it's coming to tell us over here, that actually is for a 40-year goals. 40 years, of Yemos Mashiach. I apologize for that again. Okay, fine. So that is the explanation. Okay, Rav Shimon ben Lakish Oimer Lalibi Galisi. What does that mean? Well, Malchi Asharis, even to the Malchi Asharis Galisi said and revealed. Tani Avimi Beredu Avavoy Yemosa Mashiach Yisrael Shivas Olafim Shana. Actually, it's going to be for 7,000 years. Shnemar Umasais Chasan Al Kala, just as a groom rejoices over the Kala, King Yosas Alacha Hashem Alkecha, so too Hashem will also rejoice upon us. And on this, the pasuk says in Tehillim, Ki Elav Shanim, 1,000 years, Beinecha Ki Yoim, is like a day. 1,000 is like a day. So just like a chas and a kala, they have sheva brachos for 7 days. So the 7 days corresponds to 7,000 years. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel Yemos Mashiach Ki Miyom Shenivra Ha'olam V'ad Achshav. It's going to be very long, just equivalent to the days of the creation of the world until now. Shenemar Kimei Shemayim Al Aretz Rav Nachman Yitzchak Omer Kimei Noyach Ad Achshav. Not only from the Bris Ha'olam, but from Noyach until now. Shenemar Kimei Noyach Zoisli. That just like the time of Noach, Asher Nishbaiti, which was a swear that we swore. Rav Chia Barabba Rav Yochanan Kol Hadavim Kul Nestavo Eli Moshe Mashiach. This is also more brachos, that all the Nevi'im, they were misnavev for the sake of Mashiach, of Olam Haba, for the world to come. The Nevi'im cannot even describe what is Olam Haba. Fine. Okay, Yasa Lamachalo, the one who waits to do. The only difference according to him between the Moshe Mashiach and nowadays is Shibud Malchus, which kings are going to be ruling over. Is it going to be, we're going to be ruled by our enemies, or we're going to have control? The Yom Rabbi Chia Barabba Rabbi Yochanan Kol Hanavim Lo Nivru Elo L'Bali Tshuva. This is all famous Gemara in Brachos. This whole piece is from Brachos. All the Nevi'im, they were misnaveh for the sake of a Baal Tshuva, which is great. So according to this, Tzaddik and Gemurim are greater than the Baal Tshuva. So the place where the Baal Tshuva stand, even the Tzaddik can't stand. So some people in a play of words, obviously this is not Pashim Shat, is that because the Baal Tshuva, because he still has the tam of the remnants of Chet, so therefore the Tzaddik Gomer can't be in that place. That's not the Pashim Shat of this drasha, but rather it's coming to tell you that the Baal Tshuva is actually greater than that Tzaddik Gomer. Shenemer Shom Shom Rachel Kakarov. There'll be peace for the person who's Rachek, and also the person who's always karev. The Reish is talking. What is he talking about? That he was originally rachak and became karev, which means they did tshuva. Right? That's kiruv. So my rachak rachak mikara. He was far from originally. He wasn't religious. My karev de mikara. The guy who was always karev. But vidahashta and now. So too, we should be quicker to greet the rachak, the guest, the person off the derech. Mavera, someone maybe means someone was distant from sin. Karev who karev mavera is close to do sin. The srachik meant, but he distanced himself from it. Okay. Koil hanavim kuon ostav el masi bitul tam chacham. The whole Nevi'im, the whole benefit and purpose of the Nevi'im was that one day you should be able to marry your daughter off to a Talmid Chacham. Oisa prakmati al Talmid Chacham, doing business, let them get hana from your possessions of the Chacham. And when it comes to the Talmid Chacham, is obviously greater. Ein lo rasa ukim zolsach. So my ein lo rasa, what does that mean? You can't see. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi say yayin hamashumer be'anova mishishim ebrachus. These are the special grapes that were designated and set aside all the way back to the days of creation. Says Rashi. Rashi says, "Einlur asa de'ein kates ladavar," that it's too great for, again, even any conversation. It's not something which we can even discuss. This is referring to Eden. Lo yarasa ayin oilam, because no one ever saw Eden. So Adam heichin dar. He actually lived in Gan. Yom Tamer Gan, who Eden. It's the same thing. Talmud Lemer Benar Yotzim Eden Lahashkas is a Gan. So the river went out from Eden, went to Gan. So obviously Gan, he's called Gan Eden. But the truth is, he was never in Eden. He was only in Gan. Okay. Question 4. Mehechin lamdim in the Torah the whole Hama. Excuse me. Shom Rachel Karav Hamar Hashem. Mihu harachok hakdimu hakasav v'karov. So one shot is rachok dimi karav yachach shav b'tshuva. That knows he's a bal tshuva. Who gadol mikarav mikarav, better than someone who's a tzaddik gomer. Or Omandi Aimer rachok me'avera kol yamav the tzaddiku. He's rachok, he never sinned. Who gadol, that's even greater, mikarav l'avera, someone who's close to sin, yachach shav b'tshuva v'nisrachik, and then he'd end up doing tshuva. So it's possible. It could be read really in either direction, which is not exactly the same question as question TA18. Alma shenivru hanaviyim v'alma nemer ein urasa elokim zolsecha. 3 answers. It's not an easy question. So this is TA18. So let's just get this down. TA18. So first of all, he said that, let's get the first one down. So kol neviim lo nisnavru el by tshuva tzadikim gemurim einor asel kim zolsecha. So that's one answer. That's one answer. That's the second answer. The first answer is kol neviim lo nivru el limos Mashiach of Olam Haba. That's Einor Asel Kim Zolasecha. So that's actually the first answer, which I'm not sure if I got that one. And then the third answer is Nevi'im are for the Nevi'im is in order, again, as we said, to marry off. This is 3. Kol Hanavim Kuon Nisnavu El Masbita Talmid Chacham Oisei Prakmati Talmid Chacham Mehena Talmid Chacham Nachasav. Okay, so those are the 3 answers. All right. It's a lot of information that you have to remember to get that question correct. All right, let's continue. All right. So, which is great. Everyone has the portion of the world to come. But the truth is, there are people that will not get a portion of the world to come, including someone who says, in Torah min Shemayim. The Torah is not min Shemayim. Tanabanan. Ki davar Hashem baza. The word should be shamed. Umatsu hefer, and you find that when it comes to one who is annulled, kares tikares will get cut off. So zeh oimer ein Torah min hashemayim. So such a person gets kares. Davar acher ki davar Hashem baza zu zeh apikaris, which we'll talk more about what that is. Davar acher ki davar Hashem baza zeh megal panim b'Torah. So basically, it's disrespectful. That's mitzvayso hefer zeh hamefer bris baser. Basically, this pasuk is referring to someone who refuses to have a bris milah. He kares tikares olam hazeh tikares olam haba. Manaim Rabbi Lezer Hamadoi Hamachalel Es Hakadoshim. So is Machalel the Karbonis, the Mavaz Es Muadois, and he shows disrespect to the Muadim, which is actually Rashi says is Chol Hamoed. Vehefer Briso Shalom Raminu Vamagal Panim B'Tayra Shloka Halacha V'Hamab B'Nei Chaver B'Rab. Embarrass someone in public. Afal B'Yishesh B'Yado Tayra Ma'asim Tayvim. Even they have a lot of Tayra, a lot of Ma'asim Tayvim. Ein Ochel Chol Mahaba. Which is an unbelievable statement. Tanya idach, so that's in support of that. Because it says, Megal Panim B'Tayra. So, Megal Panim B'Tayra, you have no Chel Kol Haba. Tanya idach. Kidav Hashem Baza, Zeh Omer Ein Torah Min HaShemayim. Refil Omer Kol Torah Kul Min HaShemayim. So really, the whole Torah is Min HaShemayim. Chutz M'Pasik, Zeh Shal Omer Kodesh Baruch Hu, Elo Moish Mepi Atzmo, Zehu Kidavar Hashem Baza. Even if you just say one thing that wasn't God, was Moshe, or a human being, then Eno Chelkom Haba. That's it. They feel Aimer Kol Torah Kulam and Shemaim Chutz Mediktuk Zeh Mekavachaymer Zeh, which a Kavachaymer is derived through Svara. But if you deny it, or Mekzer Shavazu Zehu Kidavar Hashem Baza. Tanya Hayurem, which is pretty scary, but which means it's that when it comes to being makabel the Torah, it's all or nothing. Because if you say that even one part isn't true, then the whole Torah is not emes anymore. So you can't. It's a person who feels that way is a kaifer. Rabbi Meir Omer Halaymed Torah ve'enam alamda zehu davar Hashem baza. There's a person who taka learns a lot of Torah but doesn't teach it. So that's a disgrace. Rabbi Nassan Amar Kol Mi She'einu Mashkiach Al HaMishnah. Anyone who is not particular in learning Mishnayos, so that's also a problem. Rabbi Narai Omer Kol She'efshel Asking B'Tem and Isaac. You could learn, but you don't. Shmuel Omer Zeh Ha'oived Avodas Kachavim. This is one who worships idols. So my mashma. How do we see that? The Tanad Rabbi Shmuel, Kidavar Hashem Baza, Zemavaza Dibor. This is referring to someone who's Mavaza among the Aser Sedibro. Shnemar Lolo Moshe Messina that were said to Moshe. So if you have idols, you worship idols, then that's considered to be Baza. Rabbi Yeshua Karcha Emir Kol Holam Mitar Ve'enu Chayzel Leha Daimel Adam Shazer Ve'enu Kaitzer. If you have someone that learns Torah but doesn't review it, it's key like you're planting, but you're not going to harvest because there's just no way you're going to retain all this information. So therefore, this is the plug for reviewing one's Torah study. If let's say you have Torah, we forget it, it's comparable to a woman who gave birth to a child, and then subsequently that child is buried. So you retained all this knowledge, but you forgot it, so you lost it, which is questionable. What's better, a woman who never had a child or one who had a child and buried the child? So the question is, what's more of a loss, having never learned Torah or having it then forgetting it? Okay. So the morale says that an apikoros believes in God. However, doesn't have to listen to the mitzvos. So he says it's like someone's not a Yerushalayim, so an apikoros comes like the word like hefker. Megal panim is like someone who has chutzpah, that you twist and change the Torah words to your favor. So that's what it's referring to. Okay. So some people also learn this notion of reviewing, that it says the leiv chacham is biyamin and the leiv ksil is b'smoil. A wise person's heart is on the right side, the foolish person on the left. So they say, I once heard this from my Rabbi, I think it was Rav Schlonger in Baltimore, that if your desire, like we sometimes have a desire to learn Daf Yomi, we're constantly turning to the left. We keep turning the page to the left. That's a ksil, that's a fool. Leiv chacham is biyamin, that you keep turning back to the right, which means you keep going back to the beginning, you keep reviewing, which of course is critical for retention. Rabbi Kiva Omer, as we continue to study Testament Bays, Zemer b'chol yoyim, zemer b'chol yoyim. Sing all day. What does that mean? It says Rashi, Hayim asadul moedecha, organize your learning. Afapi shesuda b'vicha, kazemer, even if it's as clear as song, v'yigrum l'cha shetehil oilam haba b'simcha v'shirim. This way, it's gonna be with joy and with song. It'll be an enjoyable learning experience. And maybe that music helps you retain things. Avudimi, my crush, never nefesh amal amaloi. That shall work for him. Ki akaf olav pihu, because he is saddled. So pihu, who amal b'makom zeh v'tarasu malasuloi b'makom acher. So he's working and toiling in this place, and his Torah will remain elsewhere in Olam Haba. Rabbi Lazar, Kol Adam Amal not Nivra. Every person is created to work. Shnever Ki Adam Amal Yulad. The purpose is working. So the whole notion of, it's time for me to retire and sit back and do nothing. Well, if you stop working, doesn't necessarily mean you have to get paid to work. It doesn't mean necessarily even a job where you're doing anything as far as work is concerned, but you're doing something productive. If you're not moving forward, you're just falling down. What does it mean with your mouth, like learning Torah, or is it referring to work? That your mouth is saddled. Is it stam speech and conversation, or is it Torah? Shu'aymer lo yomush sefer Torah hazem apicha. Shouldn't be removed from your mouth the Torah. Taviyamel amol Torah nivra. So the whole purpose of the world is for us to learn Torah. And the aymer rava kuhu gufi de ruftaki ninhu. That all of my body is work. Toivi, how fortunate I am with the zachi the havi de ruftaki. Diraisa. It says Rashi, Tarchina and Kalimer Kol Gufan Almo Nivru. My whole body is for work. The Noif Isha Chaselev, and one who, on the other hand, has relations with women. His heart is missing. Amrish Lakish Zel Lomin Torah Leprokim. This is someone who learns Torah only at times. It says Rashi, Ve'enu Loma Tadir. Tadir is not always learning. Kamish Lo Isha, like a guy who doesn't have a wife. Uboil palmim zu. Sometimes he'll have tashmish with one woman here, a different woman here, but he doesn't have the consistency of a relationship. Shenemer ki noim, because it is pleasant. Ki tishmerim bebenecha, guarding in your loins, in your insides. Yichaynu yachdav al safosacha, will be well established upon your lips. This pasuk is referring to Avodah Zarah. It says, "V'hanefesh asher tasa biad Rama." So Zemenashe ben Chizkiah. So it's referring to the person who sinned by the name of Menashe ben Chizkiah. So Shahai Yoshev Adarish behagdois shel doifi. So he Haggadah shel doifi used to expound on things which were false. Amr v'chi lo hayalo Moshe lichtayv. He used to say, well, Moshe Rabbeinu wrote all these extra things which have no purpose. So the achais loitan timna, right? Like, why do we need to know who Timna is related to? But Timna haisa pilegesh Eliphaz, or it says that Timna was a concubine to Eliphaz, which of course they ended up having a Molech. Why do we need to know these unimportant details? Yoch Reuben b'mei katzir chitim, and Reuben went during the harvest season. Like, why do we care when? The Yamatzi Dudoyim Asada, we understand the importance of the whole story about the Dudoyim, about the flowers he gave to his mother, which could have been for fertility. So Yosef Baskan Yarmilo, Teishev Be'achicha, you're sitting against your brother. Tedaber is how you speak. But Benam Imecha Titin Doifi. This person has Doifi, is falsehood. Eila Sisi V'charashti. So I Hashem am quiet. Demisa Hayoyeh Kamoicha. Oichichecha, I rebuke you. Ve'ercha Leinecha then you should be proper to your eyes. Va'allah mafurish b'kabal, and this the pasuk says, Hoy moishchi ha'avoyin, woe are those who are entrenched in sin, b'chavli hashav, those who have cords of falsehood, b'ka'avoyis ha'gol cheta, and with ropes of the wagons they sin. So my ka'avoyis ha'gol, what does that mean? Like ropes of wagons. So Ravasi, yitzahar b'tchila daim l'chut shel kuvya. The yitzahar originally looks like a tiny little thin web. Then later it becomes these strong ropes for wagons. So what is this whole notion about mentioning about Timna? So Timna bas malachim havoy. Timna was actually the daughter of kings. Olaf loitan Olaf Timna. So she was actually came from royalty. The whole Olaf Malchusa, whenever it says aluf, it's referring to a king. However, it's beloy tagahi. It's without a crown. Boile gure. So actually, Timna wanted to convert. So Bateitel Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'lo. So she wanted to do tshuva or to convert, but they didn't accept her. So she became a pilegesh Elifaz ben Esav. And of course, she ended up, the product was Esav. Amra, she said, Mutav tehe shivcha umazu, maybe I should be a shivcha even to this nation, v'lote gevira l'umacheres, and tend to even be of a more prominent position for somewhere else. As Rashi, not to be in another nation. So he said, at least let me attach myself to godless. I'd rather even be someone in a lowly position of being a pilegesh, but at least I'm connecting to the Yidden. Nafik minei Amalek did Sarinhu Yisrael. But even though she had good intentions and interesting, you have Eliphaz who also, like, he could have killed Yaakov, he didn't kill him, he took his money instead because Ani Chashach Hames. So it's interesting that these two people were actually not such bad people, but they ended up having a child, Amalek. So my time of the my time, like, what happened? Like, why did this happen to us? Because the loy boy l'orchaka, that we shouldn't have distanced her. So Amalek came because we didn't embrace his mother Timnah. So the point is that you can't just simply push people away. The El Reuven b'mekatzer chitim Amarav Rabbi Yitzchak Amarav mikan l'sadikim shein poishtin yedehen megezel. You must do doim b'sadeh. So it's just, the idea is we're mentioning that they were hefker, that who didn't steal. So my dudoim Amarav Yuvruchi Levi Oimer Sigli. This is referring to jasmine. Rabbi Yochanan Oimer Sivsuch or Savisky, which again is another type of flower. Amrav Sandri Kol Isib with Taira Lishma. Anyone's Taira Lishma. So Mesim Sholem B'Pamalia Shalmalo. So you're creating peace in the upper chambers and the heavens, and B'Pamalia Shalmata also below. Shnemar Yechazik B'Moazeh, that it will be to go straight, to hold on, to be straight. Yasa Sholem Li Sholem. Sholem Yasali. So it's actually the fact that it repeats it, then itself is referring to both the Pamalia Shalmata and the Pamalia Shalmala. Rabbi Merkil Bana Paltarin Shalmaila Shalmata, like you build palaces above and below. Shnemer the Osim Divar Baficha Uvetzel Yadei Kasisacha. The shade of his throne is where he's sitting. When Toya Shemayim will yoisid aretz, to establish the heavens to put the earth. Omer Shalachasham Rav Yochanan Omer Af Megin Al Kol Oyum Kul also protects the whole world. Shnemer Vatzel Yodei Kasisacha V'Levi Omer Av Mekar V'Sekula, that such a thing will also be Mekar of the Geula as well. Shenemar Oimer Latzion Ami Ata Oimer Shalakish Komo Amid as Ben Chaver Taira Valvikasu Kili Asai. It's a famous sugi over here. That anyone who teaches their friend son Tyra, it's like you made them. The fact that Avram brought people and they weren't his kids, he didn't have kids at the time. Nonetheless, it's considered Asher Asu. Rabbi Lezer Omer Ki'il Asu L'Divrei Tyra. Shenemar Ushmartim as Divrei Habris Hazais. You should safeguard this covenant. Jasisim Oisim. Rabbi Omer Ki'il Asu L'Atzmo. It's like you made them yourself. Shenemar Vasisim Oisim. Al Tikro Oisam El Atem. You made them yourself. Omer Abavo Kol Hama says Chavera. Anyone who gets someone l'davar mitzvah. So even though I don't do the mitzvah, I encourage you to do a mitzvah. Malavakasik you also, it's like I did it. Shnemar umatcha asher hakisaboy asayar, the same staff in which you hit the water. So what do you mean? V'chi Moshe hiko? It wasn't Moshe, v'loi Aaron hiko. El loimacha kol mases chaveroi l'davar mitzvah malavakasik ki'ilu also. If you encourage someone to do a mitzvah and they do it on your behalf, it's ki'ilu like you did it as well. Question 5. Mehechin lomdim in the Torah the whole ha'oises chaver l'davar mitzvah mal v'kasev kil asu ba'atzma. How do we say it's like you did it? So Shi'ar Lo Moshe Matcho Asher Kisabo Sayar V'lo Hiko El Masel Arnor. Right? We know that Moshe didn't hit the water. Right? So because of that, how could it say the water? So the question, how could he have hit it? Because he wasn't allowed to hit the Nile River. But when it came to Yam Suf, he was allowed to hit the Yam Suf. Wasn't the same? It's not the same thing. Okay. Question TB19. Let's get this down. TB19. Mehechin lomdim in a Torah the whole oisas. Sorry, I wrote Mi'aron u'Moshe al makos detzach. Aaron asas hamakos halolu v'hatayra kasuv kamo Moshe oisa oisa mitzrayim. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Weiter. Apikoris. So we kind of alluded a little bit some of the mafarshim. What is apikoris? We're going to talk about it now. Rav Chanina Amri Tavayu Zem Mavaza Talmud Chacham. You're Mavaza Talmud Chacham. You're apikoris. Yochanan Rabbi Yeshua Levi Amri Zem Mavaza Chaver Mifnei Talmud Chacham. So you're Mavaza your friend in front of a Talmud Chacham. Vabishlo Madi Mavaza Chaver Mifnei Talmud Chacham apikoris Havi. So he's apikoris. So then Mavaza Talmud Chacham Atzmo. Therefore, we can now translate that someone who's mavazah Talmud Chacham himself. That's megal panim b'Torah, shelo kahalocha havoy. So therefore, that's even worse. So one level, which is bad, is an apikoris. You're mavazah lifnei Chacham, and then the person who's mavazah Talmud Chacham himself is like megal panim b'Torah. So that makes sense. El Omadir mavazah Talmud Chacham asma apikoris havi. If you're mavazah him, you're an apikoris. So megal panim b'Torah can go in my. What is worse than that? Kagoyin Menash Ben Chizkiah, who again was over Zara. Vika the Masil Asif Megal Pana B'Tayra. What is that? Rav Chanina Emerzem Avasat Ham Lechacham Rav Yochanan Rav Shimon Lakish Amri Zem Mavaza Es Chaver B'Fnei Talmud Chacham. Bishul Mamadir Mavaza Chavero Hamavaza Talmud Chacham Atzmo is Megala Panim B'Tayra, which is the worst. Havim Mavaza Chaver B'Fnei Talmud Chacham. Apikoris havi. So therefore, we can say the other case where you're mavaza your friend in front of the Talmud Chacham, that is a apikoris. Elmadir mavaza chaver b'nei Talmud Chacham agal panim b'Torah havoy. So if that's what it's referring to, that your mavaza just your friend is megal in front of a Talmud Chacham, that makes you megal panim b'Torah. So then apikoris could go in my. What could you possibly have done wrong for to be on apikoris? Rav Yosef could go in hani the amri. Those who say Ma Hanu and Rabban, what's the benefit of these rabbis? Did who karu? It's for themselves. They do what they're doing. Did who tanu? For themselves they're learning these mishnayos. Amabaya Hai Megal Panabatayra Namihu. This is a Megal also. Dechsev Imo Brisi Yamulailo Chukas Shmai Barat Sulu Samti. So Rav Nachman Yitzchak Mahacha Nami Shemamina. From here we can also derive Shenamar, as it says. The tzaddikim would have saved Edom, would have saved Sodom if they were attacked there. when Rabbi, you're sitting in front of your teacher, and you have a sugya from another place. You don't say the name of your Rabbi. Again, they didn't call him Rabbi Yamin. Okay. Asya, a doctor, the Amri, Rabbanon, who says that what's the benefit of the Rabbanon as we continue to Daf Kuf. Lo shoru lon urva, says Rashi, lo amru lonu shum chidush, that they don't say anything new, shum mitzina b'Torah, we already know. V'lo asru lon yoina, right? He never matered a raven, and he never astered a dove. So like, who cares? What are they saying? The rabbis really don't accomplish anything, right? We already know the laws of kashrus. It says in the Torah. So what are they adding? Rava ki habi ma'isi trefasa de Binyamin. When Rava would bring a dead, like a treifa, in front of Rabbi Yamin, ki havi chaziba taima lahatera, he was able to find some element to make it mutter and say it's kosher. Armahu tichsu deka sharinalahu orba. I'll take an oath, basically, that I can actually matter a raven. Ki havi chazali taima lisura, when it came a chance to find the Isser, Amrullah Tichsu Deka Asarnalahu Yoina. You're answering the dove. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So again, these are people that don't show much respect for the Talmud Chacham because they feel that he's not really accomplishing anything. Question TA 19. Debei Binyamin Asya. So Hani Debei Binyamin Asya. These people who said, and this goes into Daf Kuf, Maya Hanu Rabbanan, Lo Amru Lanu Shum Chidish Shum Matzina B'Torah, Ma'isa Dugma Shehevi, Lo Hanu and Rabbanan. What exactly was brought down over there? So as we just said, Lo Sharulan Urba, Lo Asuan Yaina. They are not going to mater a raven, it's not kosher, and they're not going to answer a dove because it is kosher. So basically he's saying the Chachamim don't really do anything anyway. So that, of course, is a person who is going to be in great jeopardy of losing their Olam Haba by speaking so disrespectfully toward the Chachamim. Ad kan.